hidden. Hear a gentle bedtime story. Inspired by an ancient Chinese saying. Long, long ago, in a quiet village surrounded by green hills and soft fields of rice, there lived a man named Liang. Liang was not a bad man, he was not cruel, and he did not wish to hurt anyone. But he had one little problem. He worried too much. He worried about the weather. He worried about his chickens. He worried about his neighbors. He worried about the sound of the wind at night. And most of all, he worried about his money. Liang had worked very hard for many years. Every morning before the sun rose, he went out to the fields with his old straw hat and his wooden basket. He planted seeds, pulled weeds, carried water, and harvested rice under the warm sun. Year after year, coin by coin, he saved a little money. He did not spend much. He wore the same cotton jacket until the sleeves became thin. He repaired his shoes instead of buying new ones. He ate simple food, rice, vegetables, warm soup, and sometimes a small piece of fish. After many years, Liang finally saved 300 pieces of silver. To him, it was a great treasure. He kept the silver in a small wooden box under his bed. Every night before sleeping, he pulled out the box and counted the silver pieces. 1, 2, 3, he whispered. The silver shone softly in the candlelight. When he finished counting, he closed the box, pushed it back under the bed, and lay down. But even then, he could not sleep easily. What if someone steals it, he thought. He turned to the left. What if a thief comes in the night? He turned to the right. What if my neighbor hears the silver? Then he sat up again and looked under the bed. The box was still there. Liang sighed and lay down once more. But the more he worried, the less he slept. One night the moon was round and pale. The village was quiet. The chickens were asleep, the dogs were curled beside the doors. Even the wind moved gently through the bamboo trees, but Liang was wide awake. He sat on the edge of his bed and looked at the wooden box. "This is not safe," he whispered. "A thief could come in through the window. A thief could take the box while I sleep." He picked up the box and held it tightly. "I must hide it somewhere better." So Liang put on his shoes, wrapped the silver box in cloth, and quietly opened his door. Outside, the night was cool and peaceful. The stars looked like tiny lamps in the sky. Liang walked behind his house to a small patch of earth near a persimmon tree. "This is a good place," he thought. "No one will look here." He found a shovel and began to dig. Softly, slowly, he dug a hole in the ground. The earth smelled fresh. A cricket sang nearby. The moonlight rested on the roof of his little house. When the hole was deep enough, Liang placed the wooden box inside. Then he covered it with soil and pressed the earth flat with his hands. He stood up and looked at the ground. Now the silver was hidden, but instead of feeling peaceful, Liang felt even more worried. What if someone sees the fresh dirt, he thought. What if someone guesses there is treasure here? He looked around. No one was there. Still his heart beat quickly. He went back into the house. He sat at his table. He poured himself a cup of tea, but the tea became cold before he drank it. Then he had an idea. "I should put up a sign," he said to himself. "If there is a sign, people will know there is nothing here." So Liang took a piece of wood and a brush. Carefully he wrote these words. "No 300 pieces of silver are hidden here." He smiled. "There," he said. "Now everyone will know." He carried the sign outside and placed it right beside the persimmon tree, exactly where he had buried the silver. Then he went back to bed. For the first time that night, he felt a little calmer. But not far away, behind a low stone wall, Liang's neighbor, Wang, had seen everything. Wang was not a very honest man. He was clever, but his cleverness often went in the wrong direction. He had been walking home late that night when he saw Liang digging under the moonlight. He hid behind the wall and watched quietly. He saw Liang bury the box. He saw Liang put up the sign. And when he read the words on the sign, Wang almost laughed out loud. "No 300 pieces of silver are hidden here," he whispered. "That means 300 pieces of silver are definitely hidden here." After Liang went inside, Wang waited. He waited until Liang's candle went out. He waited until the house became quiet. Then Wang climbed over the wall and walked to the persimmon tree. The sign stood there in the moonlight. No 300 pieces of silver are hidden here. Wang shook his head and smiled. He pulled the sign out of the ground, picked up the shovel, and began to dig. Soon the shovel touched wood. Wang's eyes widened. He lifted the box out of the hole and opened it. Inside were the 300 pieces of silver. They glimmered softly like little moons. Wang took the silver and carried it home. But when he reached his own house, he began to worry. What if Liang finds out, he thought. What if he knows I took it? He paced back and forth. Then Wang had an idea. I will leave a note, he said. Then he will not suspect me. So Wang took a piece of paper and wrote, Your neighbor Wang did not steal the silver. He returned to Liang's yard and placed the note beside the empty hole. Then he went home and slept. The next morning, Liang woke early. At first, he felt proud of himself. My silver is safe, he said. He washed his face, drank warm tea, and walked to the persimmon tree. But when he arrived, he froze. The ground had been dug up, the box was gone, the silver was gone. Only a piece of paper remained. Liang picked it up and read, Your neighbor Wang did not steal the silver. Liang blinked. Then he read it again. At first, his face turned red with anger. Then he became very quiet. He looked at the empty hole. He looked at the note. Then he looked toward Wang's house. Oh, Liang said softly. Now I understand. He walked to Wang's door and knocked. Knock, knock, knock. Wang opened the door and tried to look surprised. Good morning, neighbor Liang, he said. Why are you here so early? Liang held up the note. Wang, he said, my silver is gone. Wang raised his hands quickly. Oh, that is terrible, he said, but I did not take it. Liang looked at him calmly. I know, he said. The note says you did not take it. Wang nodded too fast. Yes, yes, exactly. Liang looked into Wang's eyes. But Wang, he said gently, how did you know my silver was missing? Wang opened his mouth. No words came out. The morning birds sang in the trees. A breeze moved through the village. Wang looked down at his shoes. Liang sighed. Neighbor Wang, he said, I made a foolish mistake. I tried to hide something, but my sign told everyone exactly where it was. Wang said nothing. Liang continued, and you made a foolish mistake too. You tried to hide your action, but your note told me exactly who had done it. For a long moment, both men stood quietly. Finally, Wang lowered his head. I am sorry, he said. He went inside and returned with the wooden box. The silver was still there. Liang took the box, but he did not smile. Thank you for returning it, he said. Wang looked ashamed. I was greedy, he said, and I thought I was clever. Liang nodded. I was fearful, he said, and I also thought I was clever. The two men stood in the morning light. After that day, Liang no longer kept the silver under his bed. He took most of it to the town and used it wisely. Some he saved safely. Some he used to repair his roof. Some he used to buy better tools for his work. And a small part of it he used to invite his neighbors for a warm meal. Even Wang came. At first he sat quietly in the corner, feeling embarrassed. But Liang served him rice, vegetables, and hot soup, just like everyone else. Years later, people in the village still told the story. They laughed about the strange sign under the persimmon tree. No 300 pieces of silver are hidden here. And they laughed about the even stranger note. Your neighbor Wang did not steal the silver. But they also remembered the lesson. Sometimes when we try too hard to hide something, we reveal it. Sometimes when we feel guilty, we say too much. And sometimes peace comes not from hiding, but from living honestly. So as the moon rises tonight and the world becomes quiet, remember this gentle old lesson. A calm heart does not need a sign. An honest heart does not need an excuse. And a peaceful night comes more easily when there is nothing to hide. Now the village is sleeping. The persimmon tree stands quietly in the moonlight. The fields rest under the stars. The silver is no longer hidden in the earth, and Liang at last sleeps peacefully.